Here
The
we go.
broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow. That's a good start to the webinar.
Oh, there goes the train. Okay.
Okay, and with that noise, it signals the start of the webinar. Hi, everybody. Today is, where are we? The 1st of July. Wow. 2019. Myself and John are here as your hosts. As always, got any questions? I can see we've already got one in at the moment. Any questions or queries, ideas, suggestions, so on and so forth, please feel free to type in the question box. Or raise your hand. We'll get the microphones opened and we'll take a look. So first and foremost, Bill. Let's open the mic to Bill. Bill, if he's available. Bill, the mic's open. If you're there. If you're not, I can type there. Oh, you're there. Brilliant. Okie dokie.
Yeah, I just got a question. You know, back when we had our the training classes in England,
Yep.
you know, you were showing us on the reports template how you were adding files to it. One of the things you had left to do was to add files to it, so that that would allow us to pull in a
Okay, well,
PPS file.
Basically equivalent of a file loaded, if you will.
Right.
Let me show you where we are up to and basically what I am currently coding and what the template will do for you. Okay, so because it's a cracking question, because it leads us into I noticed, well, I think I found something which would be slowing down the loading purely by chance, but let's just cover your question first. So just let me find masters. Where are we? There you go. Let's bring that into there. This happens to be ABC, but it's completely irrelevant from your question point of view, because it'll be exactly the same as ABC and legacy. So let me quickly show you. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Actually, didn't expect that template error there, but never mind. Won't be a second, guys. Just let me unregister that template. It's just going to bug me. Okay, sorry about that. I did do some tidying up of template register the other day, so it must have obviously been linked to that. Okay. We'll add a button to do with file loading. Copy it on here. So we've got a standard Clarion. No, we'll actually have a brand new. Doesn't really matter. We'll just add a button anywhere. Oh, my days. Right, we'll add our button there. Sorry about that. We'll have it as table load. Can have a brand new procedure. In fact, it'll be interesting. Where are we? No, the attendee's not here. There was an attendee who wanted to know about loading report control, so this would actually be a good one for them. So if you're watching it back on recording, Scott, then pay attention to this bit. So I'm going to create a procedure. We're going to call it sample table load. Simple window. That's it. Brilliant. Okay. Regular MDI window. I don't know, just simple window will do. All right, so now we're going to add the report control. And Bill, correct me if I'm wrong here, this is where, and in Legacy, you want to add it, we want to say it from a table, and we want to obviously populate it so it's the equivalent of a file loaded, which of course Legacy doesn't give you, correct?
Correct.
Yep, sorry, but you're gone then. Right, so you would add the report control, where are we? Like so. Now you already do this and so on, but point of reference won't do any harm going forward. In fact, we're going to really, for training point of view, we're going to actually do this and even add some other buttons to it as well. So, got our report control. Change the class name, which is always good practice. Yeah, just standard report control. So, important one we've got now is the data source. Of course, I've got the very latest version. I'm going to just show you one of the things it does now for you, which will come in handy. Anybody else, this might come of interest to others as well. So I'm going to go to the columns. I'm going to start choosing, and I'm going to choose fields. So one of the changes you'll notice is on the column ID, you've now got a lookup. So you can still type in your own ID, and it'll just use it as equivalent of a local column, if you will. Basically a column defined on the fly, doesn't know where to get the data from. That really will be down to yourself and so on. Or you can choose it from a particular table. So I'm going to go to other tables. I'm going to choose, say, the inbox, and I'm going to choose a few fields, maybe the receive date, and I will give it a name and so on and so forth. All the attributes I might want to give it, all in the usual manner. No change there. Main change is you can now choose from the lookup, and it will put the exclamation in front of you. That basically exclamation tells the template that it is an optional field, so I know to go and look up that particular field. After that, that's what your column name is going to be. It's going to be IN, which is our table prefix, receive date. So I'm going to have receive date. I'm also going to choose receive time. There's method in my madness on this. Receive time. And maybe subject and something like that. Let's just take a look. Subject. And then I'm blatantly going to add, let's just make that a little wider. Something like so. And I'm going to add one of our own. And this is just going to be, I don't know. Confirmed. Okay, so it's just a column. So we've got that so far. Our data source is still manual. So no magic going on yet. Let's take a quick look at that. Like I say, probably a long way of answering your question here, Bill, but this will also come back as a point of reference when you come to add it and so on. Okay. So onto here, we'll just our table load, and yeah, we've got received date, time, subject, and I never give it a I'll give it a title, but that's our confirmed. Okay, so far so good. Should really give our window a few attributes. Usual system, immediate, that kind of thing. And onto here, and let's just give that our title for the confirmed column. That will have created it. If we take a look at what's been generated at this point, you can see our local class, methods available to you, and really at that point, basically some local variables that it creates. But that's really the end of it. You can see the end statement there. Columns created, the control, save and restore layout indicator, and a result variable, which is kind of redundant, but we'll leave it there for backwards compatibility. Now, I'm going to change that to say the table source is from a file. So I'm going to say, okay, it's from our inbox. And what key are we going to read it in? Doesn't have to be, remember, this doesn't have to be the key that we're going to, not necessarily the key, sorry, the sort order we're going to display the data in. So I'm going to actually load it just in its regular ID, which is like an incremental counter, if you will. So I'm going to read it in that order. Now, if we take a quick look at the end of the class, so we've still got our class, so on and so forth, but now it's created as a group structure. Let's take a quick look at that. That's, I'll copy it because it'll come in handy. So we've got it's created whatever our control name is, which is report control, row data group. It's got a prefix of and its group and the name of the whatever it is, so report control. If we'd have called that RC inbox, then this would be called group RC inbox, and so on and so forth. We have a record ID, which is C-string 101, which matches basically the internal definitions of rows within the report control. We've got our received date from the table we specified, and it's picked it up, its definition from that table, and the time, and the subject, and then we've got a confirmed. It doesn't know what data you're going to put in it because how would it? We've just said it's going to be a column called and confirmed. So it declares it as an any for you, and then end. So that has created our group structure, which the template's going to use for loading data in. Now, the place you would call, the place it's going to put the code, we're going to cheat. Well, we're not going to cheat. We're going to actually put the code in, which it will be generating, just so you can understand basically how close we are on it. So it's going to be data load, which falls in line with our other products like the calendar, data load, or I think it's data load events, and other templates as well. So it goes into here. It's going to generate the code and put it in here. I'm going to just put it in manually at the moment. So I'm literally, we haven't prompted for any filters. So I'm just going to do something along the lines of our report control, delete all rows. We're not going to refresh at that point. Just going to basically, well, we'll just set it in that order. And then we're just going to do a very simple loop. Just let me jump back to that structure so we can see about the loading. So basically, what it's going to do for you, Obviously, it's not going to do it via straightforward. Here, it's going to do it via view, which will be more efficient from the loading point of view, the finding of the records, especially if it's a SQL backend, that type of thing. But we're going to clear the group. It's going to be able to basically set these. You'll see where I'm going with this in a second with regarding some of the data which it loads. So it knows it's going to match those. It's going to know its primary, the record ID indicator. So it's going to know that. The only one it won't know is this field, and we don't know what it's going to be. For demonstration purposes, I'm just going to choose a random number between 1 and 9, something like that. Then for efficiency, it's going to do the report control dot add row. Again, it's going to know its internal ID, which is going to be that. What are the option parameters? The next one should be refresh, which we don't want to refresh. And the third one being, for efficiency, where's it getting its data from? It's going to get it from that predefined group. And then last but not least, after it's got all its data, it's going to do a populate. So let's just take a quick look at that, and hopefully we'll see something which has gone on. Oh, sorry, I've not told it. That's just working out the most efficient way of what point to load it. Not doing it automatically, because those who watch
You didn't open the files yet, so.
that will have done it automatically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but yeah, what I was going to mention is I'm going to in here. I'm going to do on the init complete. So this is one of I'm just looking at the best ways efficiency of where to call it. So the template isn't doing it at the moment. So I'm just going to put it in here when the control is fully initialized. It's going to want some data. So it's literally going to be along the lines of actually that could be self dot data load. Now, for those who was paying attention a couple of weeks ago, we mentioned a scenario where we had report controls being loaded, but then report controls were basically on docked windows to do with the docking panes. So I didn't want the init complete, probably wouldn't be my most efficient point in that scenario. 9 times out of 10, it probably would be the best place for you. But in the scenario I had basically 3 or 4 of these windows, which we've got here now, being loaded as docked content within the docking panes. So I wanted the panes to open very quickly in succession. So panes 1, 2, 3, 4 on the screen immediately, repositioned and all the things that should be done. And then I wanted to load the data afterwards. Now, if I'd have done it here in the, oh, sorry, not there. If I'd have done it in the init complete, then if there was quite a few records, we would have got pane 1 opened, wait for the data to load it, display it, then to pane 2, and again, then to pane 3, and again, then to pane 4, and again. So you would get your initialization process being a little slower visually than we'd like. So just to tie it back into a couple of weeks ago, we mentioned about docking panes. The docking panes has now got an enhancement where the docking pane window manager has its own class, and it gives you an embed point to say this window is fully initialized from a controlled point of view. I'm now going to tell the main docking manager that we are open and we can be docked. At that point, after that's been informed, that would be the better place to load the data into your report control. So that, as I say, that would give you the point of your docking panes open very quickly. If you want them all on, if they're all to be initialized on the visually at the same time on the screen, then you would want to use this method. You would want to go, let's get all the pane opened and displayed and positioned where they should be. Then after we've informed the docking pane manager that we're open, then we'll go and load our data. It does mean you visually see the report control with nothing in it and then the data appears, but in that scenario, it is the better option. For what we want here, the init complete. So I just need to, on the template, basically give you a couple of options. Where do you want to really call the initial data load? So I'm just going to call it here now. This will be one of the options, on initialization, completion of the initialization. Whew. Okay, into our data load. What have I done? Is it one of these? Just 1 second. There's something in there what he didn't like. Clear the group. Add, refresh, and the group. This is typical. Okay. Sorry about this. Just checking something on here. I'm doing this in other application, so I'm just looking it up in another app because I'm doing this, actually working in another application which is just being beta tested in the field. Add the row ID, that, and the group structure. Sorry, as I've just got on an RDP on the other window, just it's on the other screen, just looking it up. Pretty much doubt about throwing it, but let's just take that out of the equation. Seems that NE is throwing it. Okay, something for me to take a look at. So let's get rid of that. The NE a second. But what we've got here now is some data. That's fine. Coming from our inbox, I'll take that as is. We've not put any default sorting on, so it literally is at this moment in time in the order that it read from the table, which we wouldn't want, of course. If we had read it in a particular order, that's great. What I don't want to do is necessarily tie the two together, because we can just quite simply go to one of these columns. A good one obviously would be receive date and time. And remember, all the sorting and grouping and so on and so forth is all done post, basically when it's local in memory. So it's post read. So we'll have got receive date. So we'll have some grouping of in receive date. That's in fairness, and now we'll have that descending. And again, the speed be next to nothing, because it's purely in memory inside of the report control, just done instantaneously. That should really be a lookup actually. And our sorting, we are actually going to have that as the receive date descending and time ascending inside of that. Receive time ascending. Into there. Okay, now we've got our data grouped as we would like. And the extra thing you've noticed here, it's taken, and this is a nice thing you should like, Bill, hopefully, is yes, it's got its fields directly from the table, from the record, and we've got our dates. Now, what we've got here is the date in clarion form, in readable form. So our sorting is correct. 2012, 9, 9, 8, oh, no, sorry, 9, so on and so forth. And obviously our time sorting as well. So what we've actually done is we've set the internal value of that to the raw clarion date, so we can sort ascending and descending correctly. But visually, it's set the caption. And it's done that automatically because the picture within the calendar, sorry, the picture within the dictionary, we were to take a quick look at our dictionary here. That's why I chose this table. It's recognised that it's a date. Now it happens to be D6, which is a UK date, but could be. It's just recognised it's a D at D. So because it's at, it has formatted data accordingly. Same with the time. It's recognised it's a time. Also does numerics, so on and so forth. So now, just redo my headset. Let's just take that grouping off, so it's just easier for you to see. Just take that off. Go to our example. And yeah, basically, there's our date. It is actually grouped by that. Sorry, sorted by that. So yeah, got our date and our time, all done automatically from the picture within the dictionary. And basically that's done via, if we look at some of our generated code, date, no, to do a picture. There's a new method been added there, set data column picture. So if it comes across that, it knows to start applying that picture. Now again, we're using it to do with the new enhancements, but you will also be able to use it even in a manually loaded report control, where you're setting the data yourself. And what you'd have had to do historically would you have said, okay, set the data value to one value and set the data caption to a different value. Now, if it recognizes that the column you're adding data for has a dedicated picture, it will automatically set the caption to that formatted picture for you automatically. So you don't have to do it anymore. That's a little enhancement was coming up. So to go back to your question, Bill, which is how close we are, the only bits I've got to do is, let's go to our embed code here. So we're going to to go back to your question, to finish off that, and then we'll finish off the training just on the new bit, is on here where you've got that, I just need to prompt for the range and the filter. And then ultimately, basically, change that code to a view, because you've seen we're creating the group already, and the view will be that minus any local columns, e.g. the confirmed. So basically it's create the view, and then this will automatically be generated to say read the view, apply any filters. You can apply sort orders to it, but it's kind of, I've just proven there, it's kind of irrelevant. Loading the data into a particular sort order, reading it is kind of irrelevant, because your sorting is going to be done as per the report control, which can be predefined by default. And if you're using save and restore, then the save and restore will replace any kind of sorting that you specified in the template anyway. So if you shipped it in receive order and the user is using save and restore, and they've grouped it in maybe importance order followed by user order, then it will restore that. So it's pointless applying sort orders to the actual table to read the data in, because it's just taking time up for no reason. We want to get the data in, put it in the easiest sort order you can do, which chances are it's probably some kind of ID, and then get it in. The only difference on that would be, obviously, if you was going to do some kind of filtering and range limiting, then of course you would want to choose a suitable index for that. So of course, but my point being is, don't gone are the days where you would normally choose a key in Clarion for the browse, and then that would be your default ordering. Try and come away from that thinking. Think of your key really more for your filtering, and then basically the report control will sort it and group it as per the defined, the designed grouping and ordering, or the restored grouping and ordering. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. And then you're going to, that'll handle hot fields and all that, right?
I would personally, for your hot fields, you still want to, you can still put a hot field in. Yeah, especially if it's SQL. You still put hot field in, but I would have the column, because you're going to need to specify it in the report control, just like your Clarion, your list in Clarion might, you have the hot field. It might not be visual, but it would be in the queue. The report control is your data storage of this, so you're going to want it as a column, but you would have it hidden by default. A hot field would be the equivalent of
A hidden field in the column, yeah.
And also not selectable. So where are we? Include in field selector. So e.g., let's go back to that confirmed. If I was to, that's a bad example. Let's choose another one, and I would say something like maybe priority. I don't want to visually show has attachments, because I might want to enable and disable a button accordingly. So I would put that in, and I'm really not bothered about that. I want it to be hidden, and I don't want the user to be able to bring it into, if they've got a field picker, bring it into view. That's the equivalent of a hot field. So it would be loaded into the report control, but nobody would ever be able to get to it. So i.e. it's just stored in the equivalent of a queue, but your queue in this instance happens to be the report control itself.
And then were you going to put add, change, delete buttons on this as well?
Yep. So I can show that now. So all that's done. So let's. Yep.
I got ahead of you. Sorry.
No, because I was going to lead on to that next, but I've already waffled for about 30 minutes just to answer your simple question, which I didn't want to waffle more. So that's how, I've been saying it for a long time. It has gone, like I said, I just opened up another app on an RDP, which a project I'm working on. Just minimize that actually. This is actually live in the particular scenario I was mentioning earlier, where it's used in some docking panes. So there's 3 or 4 panes all open, and I wanted to get them in place. So this update is going in hand with an update to the docking pane as well, and they're both being field tested. And I found some funnies to go along with that. So your question on the insert, change, and delete is perfect. I'll go into that now, and that highlights something which I might have actually introduced a slowdown in the loading, which wasn't the intention. So we've got a report control on here. Nothing to do with Clarion browse. There's no mention of a Clarion browse or list and so on. So now we want our insert, change, delete buttons. So now we've got a report control on the screen. You can see there's a whole host of extra facilities open to us. And one of them is update buttons. So I'm going to say, OK, insert, change, and delete. So that's them. We'll tidy them up. To be honest, I always put them on a command bar, so it's kind of weird me. That's why I've put them at the top, actually. I suppose from a Clarion point of view, let's just put that back to the regular Clarion type screen. Yeah, personally, I'd have them on a command bar above. So, but for demonstration purposes, we will just have the normal ones here. Something like so. We attach them because you might have multiple report controls. So we're going to say they are attached to report control and that report control. Okay, now we've associated those buttons with report control. We need to tell the report control basically what we've got our data source, what the related record is, and the update procedure. So unlike the Clarion one where we say when you add an insert, change, delete, you say at that point what the update procedure is. We've tied it in to the actual report control itself. And the reason for that is you might not be using our insert, change, delete buttons, but you still want the functionality of calling, double clicking on a row and calling an update procedure, but you have your own buttons for it. So or you don't have any buttons and you just want the double click to action it. So that's why we've moved it from the insert, change, delete buttons and tied it to the report control itself, because it can be called without using those buttons. So we're going to, have we got an update? We've got an update inbox, it would be nice. Update emails. Just let me have a look at that procedure. Is that the inbox? It is. Brilliant. So we've actually, I don't even know what's on that one. It's an old demo. Oh yeah, there, we've got that record. Okay, so we happen to already have got an update form. So that's a regular Clarion generated, and I've just knocked it around, update form. Onto our report control. So on here, on the data source, because it all ties into the data source. So we're saying we have got an associated update procedure. It's called update emails. It can take parameters as you would expect it to, and it can return you a value should you want it to. You can, if you like, let's just go to our window. That's our update buttons. In fact, let's just see that in action. Tell you what I want to do. We missed one tab there, and that's related record. Imagine going back to your Clarion. Again, legacy or ABC, kind of irrelevant. Imagine you're on your Clarion browse and you've got n number of records loaded and you navigate from record to record. So you navigate from record 2 to record 4. And of course, if you navigate to record 4, you'd expect that to be in the buffer, if you will, the record buffer. Now, of course, this report control could be manually loaded, could be data bind, so on and so forth. What you can do is, via this tab, say what the related record is. So you might have one which is a list enhancer, which is a list in memory. Okay, you can say is, when someone selects this particular record, I want you to synchronize a record from a certain buffer. In this one, we're going to use inbox because that is our data source. But it could be a local queue, which happens to be derived from a bit of inbox data and a bit of associated data and so on and so forth. So we're going to say, okay, when you select a record, I want you to choose the record from the inbox table and we're using ID. So we're going to stick with that. Remember, that was our row ID that we used during the loading. So there's the inbox ID. It could be a multi-part key, so you can set them here, but there's only one here, so I'm going to say that field happens to be the row ID that we selected. So you've got column ID, row ID, and other would just let you specify your own constant, or maybe a local variable. Maybe it's a higher element key and you're using a company number. So you could go and set that first and then set the row ID later, that kind of thing. But we're just going to say it's a row ID. So it's coming in, it's saying we're going to find a record in that file using that key, using the row ID, so that element. And I forget why I added this. I think it's to do with my data binding and the rethinking of the record afterwards. But for now, just put that back to your row ID. So the unique ID. I think that's related to data binding, like I say. So now, when we navigate around the report control and click on record to record, that will go and find the associated record for you automatically. So we shall show that by bring this. Oh, actually, they can just stay where they are. And we'll have a text box under here. And that is actually going to be maybe our message. And we'll even have a couple of things on there. And I think there was a display command. So let's just data source, and there is issue a display after the row selection. So you won't have to have this turned on for the update buttons, just show it. I forgot to mention it before. So now you can see as we're going around, this, which is nothing to do with the report control, but it happens to be a field we want out of that record, is now kept in sync. So as we're moving around our list, it's doing a one-off selection. So that would keep that in place. And regarding license, so I'm going to double click on regarding licensing, and there's your record, and that's the update form called automatically for you, or maybe Clarion 7. Let's update that and say Clarion 7. Sorry, I meant Clarion 11. Update that, and there it is, updated. Would have expected that to go back to that record sync there, actually. I think that might be I have to check that our data load, because there's an option on the data load to take one single record and retain the current row. So I'll check that. All this will be double checked out before it goes live. I know that works because in our data sync, which happens to be in one of the applications we're working on to schedule, it uses data binding and it does bring you back. So it must be what we're doing here in that loading. So in fact it is. We've just done a blatant. If you take a look here at what we've just done in the data load, you can see there it takes an optional parameter. I've kind of ignored that, and I've just said go and delete all the records, reload everything, and then populate. What I really should have done is actioned, you're only loading one record, go and get me the one record and repopulate, and don't delete everything what's there, i.e. just update the current record. So that was a bad example I've just done here. So that's your insert, change, delete buttons, just like you've got your Clarion ones. And to follow on from that, just to show you the other thing you could have is you've got your insert, change, delete as we mentioned, but you also got a view button. So we could, if we wanted, have equivalent of a view button, attach that to the report control. Yep, that's good. Now, unlike Clarion, the view button, which calls the update form in view only mode, this will still do that. Sorry, just go to it. This will still do that if you want it to, but it gives you the option to call a separate procedure. And the idea there is, if you haven't got it, it will call the view. It will call the update form with a global request of view record, just like the Clarion one. But if you have got a view procedure defined, it will call that instead. And the idea being you might have a scenario, and I often do, where if they're inserting or changing a record, I do want them to go to a particular form and do their maintenance. But if it's view only, chances are, instead of disabling a load of image information or hiding some and disabling the OK button, I'd just sooner have a different form which only shows the stuff what they're allowed to actually view and so on. So it just gives you the ability to do that. And likewise, you've got the same for the print record as well. Finishing off on this then, and then we'll move on to another question. You've got a select button, as you would expect in your Clarion buttons and so on. Your insert, change, delete, view, select, that kind of thing. And the thing I was going to mention is the equivalent of a browse no records button. And that's just called a dependent button. Oh, sorry, there, record button, dependent button, record dependent button. We'll add that. I'll call it maybe it's a mark as read, that kind of thing. Okay, now, and then as you know, I should always do, make sure it's attached to the report control, which it is. If your report control is the only one on the screen and the only one of our templates on the screen, it's going to choose it by default, but it's always best to check. Now, this will always be enabled at the moment because we've got data in there. So our button is constantly enabled. So, but if it wasn't, then that would enable and disable accordingly. And as per the other buttons, you do have, like our update button, there's a dependent button. You do have some options to say, do you want it on the right click? Do you want it to disable? Do you want it to hide? So on and so forth. The usual things you'd expect with the Clarion one. Last but not least, you have the likes of, because all the data's in there, now you've got the ability to use the inline filtering, and it's going to, the data's in there because the inline filtering and the inline search can only work on the data it can see, but because everything's loaded in there, it can see everything. So we're going to enable that, and we'll have that with a, which one are we on? This one filter. So I'll tell you what, we'll give our filter some kind of orangey background, and we'll turn the search on, and we'll give our search maybe some kind of subtle green background, that kind of thing. So there you go, we've got these on now. So let's have a look. We mentioned Clarion 11 somewhere. So there we've got our Clarion 11. Oh. Looks like them black pictures shouldn't have, that's a bit trigger happy, shouldn't have it was taking them into account. Yeah, there's our row. That's kind of it. Bill, we are very, very close. If you want a beta of what you've seen there now, that can go out to you the end of this. I can put a zip file together and send it across to you. Absolutely no problem. Like I say, it's field tested. You've seen there's some funnies on that actually. Field tested with a data buying backend. So just bear in mind what I've just sent you, but you're welcome to take a look at that if you like.
Yeah, I'm good till the first of next week. So
the other embed point you might be interested in, where are you? Is we're going to have this view and so on where you can apply a filter to it, so on and so forth. But prior to loading each record, it will pass through a new embed point of validate record. You'll know which row it's on, which you've created your row ID. Now I'm using a ulong, an auto incrementing number, which many developers do. Some might use a GUID, and that's still fine. That's string 36. The row ID internally is C string 101. Now, I did have somebody the other day who had a scenario. It's definitely not the norm, actually. It was more of an exception of the rule. They had a scenario where the table didn't have one unique field. It was made up of a concatenation of a few fields, which of course you could do. And so maybe your thing would be the date and the time, and maybe the received date, the received time, and the received source. Let's say something like that. But their scenario was all of the things added together came to, I think, best part of 250 characters, and so of course that made it more than the internal structure from an ID point of view would have handled. If anyone's got that scenario, we are looking a way around, trying to handle that. It is a rarity. One has to admit, report control's been out there a long time, and you don't really get a table defined where the uniqueness happens to be 200 and odd characters. It's not very efficient to start with, but it's more the exception to the norm. I don't think that'll bite you, Bill. I'll be honest. It's been using it a long time, and I've never really come across that too many times. So yeah, that's basically where you're up to with this.
Yeah, it looks really good, Andy. The big problem with the legacy has been that they never developed a file-loaded list box, so we could never use the browse enhancer with it unless you had a relatively small data file that you were using with it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. No, I mean, a lot of people will say the negative is, why do you want to load all the records? But if you've got, chances are you're doing this on tables which are relatively acceptable, and some of us will be using SQL backend, which will be more efficient at getting the data in there anyway. And you also probably have some kind of filter. You're not going to load if you're loading 500,000 records in to start with, or 1 million records or whatever in to start with, then one would query, why are you giving so much straight to the user? They're always, this is much easier to sit in our ivory towers and say, why are you doing that? There will always be a justified reason why. But in them scenarios, I would say maybe give them some kind of filtering to start with. At least give me part of a part number, or give me something to filter that list down. So at least present them with some kind of smaller subset of data first, and then let them, or maybe no data at all, and let them prompt them to say, okay, you're going to have to give me what parts of what you want to search for. That kind of thing. There's always a workaround, and then you get by doing that, it is a greater data load potentially, but you get the likes of, I really need to clear them pictures out, don't I? That's my new change has broken that. But you get the likes of being able to say, okay, only show me records what mention code, and we can see straight away you've got code tools, we've got code jock, and we've got code toolbox. So we've got 3 straight away, and we're not hitting the back end. There's no reloading going on because everything's there in memory straight away. So you're filtering and you're highlighting. So here's your highlighting. Let's take that off. Better try that enter key actually. Our highlighting is also available to us, so we can see our code, that kind of thing. So you designed, used correctly, you can get the data on the screen and give them so much power straight out of the box. Much easier for you. And of course, all of that is send to compatible and so on and so forth. So when you filtered this list, you can hit the send to if you've got capes or send to and get just your filtered data straight out. Okay, what are we on? Wow, bloody hell, nearly an hour. Is that okay? You answered that? I was going to see we've got a couple of questions. I'm going to go on to another one.
Thanks a lot, Andy.
Oh, no problem, Bill. No problem. Steve, still trying to do QuickBooks stuff, but the layout in the QuickBooks app set up different. Hang on, let's just open Steve's microphone. Where are you, Steve? Hi, Steve.
How you doing?
Yes, good. Yourself?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, just still trying to do this, but when you go into the Intuit Developer, it's not anything like on the video you sent me to help me.
Yeah, I went to it last week because I was one of our clients. I was actually taking them through it, and they've changed it. They changed it last week.
All right.
It's through me. Let me just go on to right, the Intuit developer now. So not that one. That's just a pom. So this is to do with for people who are wondering what's going on. It's to do with Chillcat wrapper, and it's the QuickBooks. So if I go to Intuit developer now, and you will notice definitely some changes. So that's just going to the help.
Yeah, all that stuff on the left. Well, when you log in.
So if I go, you would have gone to the main place you would want to navigate to is My Apps.
Yeah, I've done that.
Yep. So you go to here.
Yeah.
And you can see now we've got this is all this is different. So
and when you click on one of those apps, some stuff comes up on the left hand side.
I'm just going to go on to one, an oldish one actually, I've got to admit. Yeah, remote data, that one, NYS demo, because I can always regen the keys. So basically, the options used to be across the top, and I won't mind. I only recorded the videos a few weeks ago, so I'm going to have to recut them to show this new interface. But the actual elements are identical; they're still the same. You got your keys and off. You would get your developer ID and secret. I'm going to rotate these before the video goes out, so pointless writing them down, anybody. But yes, you get your developer keys. They would enable you to get to the test data, your sandbox data. You would have your redirect URLs. Main one you want to be playing about with is bouncing it off some kind of server like that. So make sure you've got that case sensitive, of course, if you're going to use it. Well, it depends on if you've got a Linux server. Put yourself an app URL in here. And then you would.
So mine is the production stuff that I'm looking at the moment.
Yeah, so I'm going to say now you would get. I'm trying to see where the. Do you know? I'm just going to put this on the other window and check one of my other apps out because I don't want to show production keys for kind of obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So I'm just on the other window. The production keys wouldn't normally appear until you had put in you completed like your company profile, so you would have your terms and conditions and so on. I don't think you need them now. I think they've done away with it.
Okay. There is URLs there for you to fill it in. To fill in your policy and your
is it?
End user license. Yeah, that's there. That's still there. And I've had to get onto the client to give me.
Oh, sorry, there was the production
profile in.
Yep, didn't see that.
Yeah. So do those the policy HTML, does that have to be live or can you put dummy in there?
Just 1 second. I'm just going back to. Oh, I will bring it back into focus in a minute, guys. Just Yep, no, can ignore that. I'll go back to my that one we used a minute ago, NYS demo. Okay, back into NYS demo. There you go. This is just some demo. Yeah, sorry, I completely missed you got your production there. So yeah, all that's to do with the developer keys. Production is where it's live. So yeah, so you have got your T's and C's and some kind of. These have never been validated, you know. I do have terms and conditions on the website, and I do have a privacy policy on the website. But I've also had this working where I've pointed it to. I think I pointed it to something like the BBC. You know, it just as proof of concept. So you know, they just need to point to somewhere.
No, I think you had dummy comp.
Yeah, something like that. So you should really have them pointing somewhere, if truth be told. But you know, don't. At the end of the day, you should have T's and C's be adding your data access and so on and so forth. But I don't think they necessarily validate it for you to be able to go through and get to your data. So yeah, so we've got an app name which you just saw a minute ago. You would have your keys just like here,
Yeah. Yeah.
but they would be for your production rather than your. Now, do you get these? Do you get some keys?
Yeah, some keys are there. I've tried to get the production keys, but I've got to get the client to fill in his profile or something because it was saying that the profile is not completed.
Right, yeah, and that. Now, where was it? Went under here.
It's in your keys and OAuth in your production, but don't show that
No.
if you've got.
Well, I think this is a dummy one, but let me just go over here. Do you know that has actually got some in there? So yeah, I won't show that because that will actually point through to one of mine.
You might not even see that you have to complete the profile because you've more likely done it. So
yeah, I was just trying to see where I can actually see where to do the profile. To be honest, truth.
Yeah, it's in those keys and OAuth. That's where it is. It's in the lower down.
Right, yeah, no, I don't see it on mine because I would have done it quite a while ago, to be honest.
Yeah,
and so on. Okay. But yes, how it used to work, bring it back. Before your production keys would be available to you and so on, you would have to put the likes of your T's and C's and your privacy policy, where in the world you want the company data to be accessed from. So do you want it to be accessed just from the UK only, from the US only, that kind of thing? So where in the world? And I think there was a thing to do with how do you want it, the single sign-on and so on, which you could untick. You say no.
That's right. Yeah, you've done that in your video.
Yeah, video. Yeah, to say don't do that. But once you've done those and your profile's complete, then you should be good to go. And imagine this is your production rather than the developer. You still have the redirect URLs. Difference with the production is localhost would not be valid anymore, so that's totally pointless. So it would have to go to something like that.
Can you send me that file, Andy? You did say you was going to send me that OAuth2.php, and then I'll put that on my site. Yeah.
It will. Your site needs an SSL certificate, and so
it's got.
I'll tell you what. Oh no, I won't because we're in the middle of a thing. But I'll send it literally straight after. Let me just write that down now. What is it? OAuth2 PHP. For Steve, no problem. Oh, Steve, I also dug out some of that code. It's actually a template, and it was to do with the postcode lookup. I forget the name of the company. It's a UK company.
Yeah. I have contacted them. I spoke. They're quite expensive, I think.
I don't know what their prices is now, but last time I looked, sorry, we digress here, people. So it was to do with looking up postcodes, and there is a company. Remind me the name again.
I can't remember what they're called, but
they were.
The guy phoned me. He was a really nice guy, but it's about 300 odd a year. And the client was
the UK postal database. I don't know how they compare with others, but at the time when I actually did a little template for it, but it was an in-house template. Basically, it lets you, it drops a postcode, and it drops a couple of entries on the screen, a postcode and a name/number, and you press look up, and it basically returns you the address back from their thing. It's done via an OCX what they provide, but they were one of the cheaper ones. Compared to others, they were one of the cheap ones. I don't know if they've got greedy now and gone expensive, but they never used to be.
Not necessarily. Yeah, it's just the client said, "Oh no, I don't want to do that if they've got to pay." So, I didn't think it was that expensive. But...
One of the things which might help is to the Chillcat wrapper, because we're always playing about and adding to it, and we are still adding to it, literally all the time. Bits went in last week. One of the things I'm going to be doing is basically just like you do on a website, where you can start typing an address, and the more you type, it's a bit like a combo, but it'll be tied directly to Google addresses and so on. So you'll be able to actually type. Now, of course, it'll put workload on the comms, as you would imagine, because it's continually having to query and bring the results back. But if you want to hang fire for that, I can't say when it's out. The last thing I want to do is say you'll get something behind on a few schedules. The last thing I want to do is promise that immediately. But that is something that I need for another project. So I don't know what the deadline is for your requirement, but that is coming your way.
Yeah, keep
be included in the free updates. So yeah, obviously you'll need your Google login, but the idea being standard combo entry, and the more you type, so probably prefix it, a bit like that filtering I said before.
Yeah.
You can't just type and expect every address on the planet. I don't think it'd come out the other side, but it would be, you filter it, give me the country, maybe give me the county or the state, that kind of thing, and hey presto, the more defined your filter is, the more precise the data is, that kind of thing.
Yeah, cool. That sounds good. Yeah, I'll be interested in that. Just one other question. Did you manage to, you remember when we were testing the QuickBooks and it was sort of taking too long to connect, and you said 30 seconds was too little? Or
yeah, I spoke to Matt. He did come back to me, and I can't remember what the answer is, but I still need to change it for the project. I think I told you I'm doing quite a largish project to do with, it's not just QuickBooks, it's the accounts are interfacing into a number of online backends. MYOB is going to be the next one added, actually, because that's the next requirement. But yes, basically he did tell me what the attribute was, and also after you've done the connection and you get the OAuth to granted or rejected message and so on,
the screen.
And you can override that with some properties. So I'm going to automate that a little. So in the template, you'll be able to say what either the default text is or the default URL redirect is, and it'll go off to so you could give a nice you are successfully logged in page. So I will chuck that in the next update. So it just personalizes it more for your application, really.
Yeah, great. Okay, that's good.
No problem. Okie dokie. So we have one next. We have, did notice Scott. I don't know if Scott, I'm just going to open Scott's microphone. See if Scott's there, paying attention. Hi, Scott.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. I thought I'd put you on the spot. Sorry about that.
No worries.
We covered, and I did mention earlier, but I don't think you was online. Let me take that out of the way. This video will be posted up. I uploaded a batch of videos to our YouTube channel a couple of weeks ago, and I've got another batch waiting to go up. So this will be converted after, and I'll get this up in the morning for you, because what we covered, you probably just saw us playing about here, but we covered basically doing this report control, which would be ideal for some of the questions you was asking for you as a starting point.
Right. I came in at the end of that, so
yeah,
cool, I'll check it out.
This would be ideal because we really covered just going from how it is now, what's going to happen in the next build, and really what's going to happen is really just going to automate some code we've just put in. That's all. So really, the thing you'll be wanting to watch is just adding it, really. Add it onto a screen,
right, yes.
Add the insert change delete buttons, which this is if you're recreating from scratch, but I know a couple of the windows that we spoke about, one of the main ones you did want to create from scratch, and this would be your better starting point.
Right. Yeah, so from what I understand, creating from scratch is a better starting point.
Yes.
We were trying to get things done quickly for what we were doing, but I think what we've decided currently is to hold off on that because we would having some challenges. So, but there's actually some other challenges I may need to talk to you about later, but I have to investigate just so I don't waste your time needlessly.
That's okay. Yep, that's fine. Okay, well, this will be posted up. So, and there will be, because it's primarily the start of this has really been on report control. So I'll put a note on to say, covered report control. Blah blah blah, usual stuff.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
No problem. Okie dokie. And then, are we doing for time? Yeah, we're doing okay. So Alejandro. Oh, Steve's just asked, looking at the report, sorry, just let me quickly, before Alejandro, we will be with you in a second. Steve, you just said, looking at the report control, is there a quick way to clear the filters and clear the sorting?
Rather than backspacing on the code and stuff like that, is there a way to just click a button and it clears the filters and then the full list comes back again?
No, but that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's something we do in ASP.NET. We do it. There's some stuff on there that we do with a button.
Where's that go then? Does that just go on the end like a clear all?
Yeah, I just have an icon and I just hit the button and then it clears the filters or any sorting I've got just to bring back the natural list. It's not
Yeah.
filtered anymore.
You see, one of the things of doing an application, not going to hold the next update out for it, but Bill, this might be of interest to yourself as well for where this is heading. If I quickly open up the QuickBooks, and I'm not saying QuickBooks to be all and end all, it's just a perfect example. Let's just bring in like one of their lists. So this is some play data, it's not real data. And we go to list of customers. There you go, here's a list of customers. We don't see basically a change or a delete button. You've got an action at the end. Okay, you haven't got to really delete because there'd be a whole world of RI on that. But you got, imagine you change and delete here. All you really have is a new. If we want to change, we want to click on someone, we actually go onto them and do it that way, the change. So for the report control, and I've got to admit, I quite like that kind of that approach. I don't want the insert, change, delete. So I mentioned earlier that you could put the related data onto here via the related record, and it'll bring it in sync, so you don't need any buttons. And the update procedure is tied to the report control itself rather than the insert, change, delete buttons, because I could get rid of those buttons, double click on the record, and because I've specified an update procedure, it would still go off and call the update procedure automatically. Technically, it will actually still pass through record lock as well, should you have your own record locking, but that's a separate discussion. But it will still pass through it, so you still introduce all your record locking and so on, all via the report control without the need for the buttons. And the approach I'd like to do, and I've been doing it in some of the applications, is just one new button, i.e., crikey, is this set to work this way? Let me have a quick look. Yeah, it is. Go to a patient list. I have a new, but I don't have the change and delete. I haven't got any in there. But what I want to do is just tie two columns and on the end, no separators, basically two icons, one to be changed, one to be delete. Basically mimicking the approach of, where are we? The actions. So, but if they add more actions, then yeah, I could turn it into some kind of drop list at the bottom, at the end. Don't necessarily need that, but the change and delete could be two icons just on the end. So
that's what I do on ASP.NET grids.
Yeah. So
web grids.
I want to really bring it into this, or if we go back to our example here, just two icons on the end. One will be change, one will be delete. So the user can go straight to delete that record, and they'll get a confirmation, delete or not, or bang, delete or change that record, and they're straight onto the change. So we're coming away from the older insert, change, delete approach, if you will, and just really trying to modernize it even further. So that will be. I won't update the new update out, because that's the last thing I want to do. But that will be basically not too far off, because I kind of need it for my apps. That's the golden rule. But yes, basically there will be basically the option to have the two change delete buttons, if you will, the two buttons on the row. So I could tie that same in here. Because this is an extra, it's nothing more than a header row that we take charge of. So I'm fully in control of this row and that row, and you can see that I've got in place controls already active. So I could add an extra button at the end of a clear, which clears the whole content. That's not too bad. Do the favour, will you put us send that on an email to us, and I'll put it on my the backlog.
Will do. Yeah,
nice one.
Okay, mate.
Okay, so Alejandro, sorry about that. I kept you waiting there. Where are we? Have you got a microphone open?
Yes. Hello.
Yes.
How are you?
Yes, good. Yourself?
Very good. Very good. And you?
Yes. Busy but good.
Yes. When you will have my things with docking pane, please.
Okay.
Don't forget.
Oh, well, actually, I did mention. Sorry to jump out, everybody. The docking pane. Yes, obviously I've demonstrated the changes. I'm still investigating a particular issue, but I did find there's two elements which I found are going into the next build. One is they had a scenario. It was the particular application I was working on where I mentioned earlier, I've got 3 or 4 panes all open in quick succession, and then I initialize the content of those panes. They're all docked windows, so they've got charts or report controls in my instance, but they've got those as their content. And one of the things I found, to my surprise, was what helped was the content of a docking pane. You can say the pane is disabled, you can say the pane and the content are disabled, or the pane is disabled only, or the content is disabled only, so the pane is still valid and you can move it around, or everything's enabled. And of course the default is everything's enabled. I found the initialization to work a lot better if the content and the pane were disabled until they were basically initialized. So I'm going to look at implementing that kind of approach into the class by default. Won't require any backwards change. It won't require any changes. Everything will be backwards compatible, but that should help. Because I had a scenario using the beta test of the next version, and I could get some issues out of it, some funnies, if you will, and that definitely helped. So I will be implementing that. The release date will be ASAP, but I don't until I'm fully happy. I don't want to necessarily send it out. I'll be honest, and not until I'm fully happy with it, because the last thing I want to do is send you an update which breaks it, because then you're just going to come straight back to me, but a little more angry. So it's pointless me doing that. I might as well make sure it's right. And the other, and it's come about since this last the beta change which I'm working on, is I changed how some of the notifications are working inside, and I think they're not fully correct. So I'm just investigating those. So you will get it soon, but that's about as best I can say at the moment. But you did remind me there was one extra thing which I mentioned. Just go close that. And we've got a dependent button here, which we mentioned. And of course, if I was to get rid of, let me filter. Okay, well, I've just done it. So if I was to say, okay, only show me records which have got AAAA, and of course now it's disabled. So that's mentioning the dependent buttons and the insert change and view buttons. We're not on a record, so we can't change it. We can't read it, that mark it as read, that kind of thing. What I found was that code to control these buttons is actually being actioned via the add row. And of course, if I'm adding quite a lot of rows, i.e. delete all the rows, repopulate the report control, and then do a populate at the end, if I'm adding a lot of rows, the enabling and disabling of these buttons and so on and so forth is being called all the time, and it doesn't need to be. Really what needs to happen is it needs to be ignored while I'm mass loading the records, and then only applied at the end during the populate. So that's something that I've actually introduced, and I didn't realize it was having an adverse effect. So the next update will speed things up, so you will get faster data loading in the next update.
Good.
Yeah, sorry, you just reminded me. So that again, the remote control. So your question was to do with
yes. One is how I can filter a check, a checkbox, and the other I don't want to forget. Did you see the behavior from when you press the boot control? Did you remember that we get a GPF?
Which button?
Print preview, the preview button.
Yeah, well, that's been going on for quite a while, hasn't it? But that's down to the CodeJock version, and that's I don't want to pass the book, so to speak, but that is really the internals of CodeJock. I'm literally just calling one method. There's very little I can do that needs raising with CodeJock. Because I know in one of the applications which I've just been working on over the weekend, They are using 1803 and there is no issue. It works every time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but there's only one command I can call, which is the print preview. So I can't really do anything. It really is a CodeJock issue, and we have to report it and really get CodeJock to fix it. Maybe send them a demo. One showing 1803, one showing 18. What's the latest? 18.6. Can't remember. I know there's a beta out at the moment.
18.9.
Yeah,
18,
but that's beta, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 18.6. Yeah, so the other one was 18.30. I know that's been working fine, but there was issues to do with the theme painting in that one. 18.60. Yeah, you've got the print preview issue, but I would send them 2 sample programs and just say this one works.
Yes,
18.3.
using one
Yep.
and the other.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's very little. I'm not passing the book. There's very little I can do because it really comes down to them.
Okay.
So, as for today, you were saying about let's go to an example. What's got a checkbox on there? Has that got a check? Yeah, I thought it has. That's got a check. So we're saying about the filtering of this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me just add inline filter of that. Simple. Which one is it? There you go. Okay, so turn on the filtering.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is he not taking that? Okay, so I'll tell you what, let me just let me find something that the letter L. Okay, so that's got some. Brilliant. If I was to do that and the letter. Huh. I would have thought that would have filtered those. There's definitely code in there for the checked in the class. 100%. Let me just open that on the other screen.
99%.
No, there's code in there. Whether it's working is another matter. But yeah, let me just open NYS with port control. Yeah, on the inline filter. Oh, crikey. Sorry, I'm on the. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, I'm on the RDP. I didn't realise. I'm actually. Let me go back to this window. Won't be a second.
Yeah.
Across there. Let's close that. There you go. So, for the yeah, block changed. No, selection block changed. Selection changed. No, value changed. Okay, so we've got in here. Not that. That should clear them. That should be a thing. There they apply. Search, apply.
You have to take the value of the check. You have a class for this.
Oh yeah, it's just item check there. So there's the item check, so on and so forth. If it's that, then it's unchecked. Then the apply filter.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be detecting it. Got the mode. I wonder if that's not picking up on whether it's checked. That's a visible. There's the value. Okay, yeah, I wonder. I bet that's not picking up on the check. So that's being called on the triggering of the checked, but it's just not checking. Oh bugger. Right. Okay. Yep. Let's put that on. Da, 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 da. In place. Filter / search. Checkbox. Well, the good news is it should only be in here, so let me just jump back. Oh, sorry, not that. Yeah, so it's being triggered. We can see here, if you're on the filter row, if you're on the all wording, which is basically that means it's a nothing, then it will clear the checked and go and apply the filter accordingly, i.e. here. So actually, yeah, that should still be triggering. Yeah, it's just not taking account. So that shouldn't be too bad a change, to be fair. That shouldn't be too bad a change at all. It's where it's checking the caption here, depending on the type. So I can just check the one what the column. Oh, that's just doing it for all. That's fine. Inside of there's our column. If it's a checkbox column, then I can act accordingly. Force it to there's no case sensitive or anything like that. It just wants to be a straightforward equals. Force it to that mode and then check the values, the absolute of the values, and that should give us what we're after. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I will look at that. Okay. And again, when I've got that, if you need a beta of it, I don't mind sending a beta, but just bear in mind that there will be betas. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And that was the last question. Is it? Oh no, Scott. Which version is the GPF in, Scott? Oh, okay. Where are you, Scott? Let's open the mic again, but I'll just quickly. Where? There you are. Good attendance today, guys. Excellent, lovely. Yes, basically, Scott. This came about in a later version. The mic's open should you need it, by the way. On the print preview. We're using an old 16.4, so we'll just do this as an example. Manual is as good as any. Looking for the print on here, we've got printing, hit the print preview, and it's a WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get, so we'll rearrange. Yep, go to the print preview, and we can see the received is over there, and we can go in and out to our heart's content. And what came about was, we changed the version number to, now that's 16.40, change it to a much later one, 18.6, and it was in these last few versions. I know there's a new build, there is a beta out at the moment, Alejandro. I don't know if you've tried that, but there is a beta out at the moment. See, that's as they are building a new version and getting close to release. Now's the time to really mind for them again about it. Same test. Oh, not that one. Sorry, wrong one. That's the picker. Printing. We've got our print preview. Bang. GPF. But we've just seen that identical code working, and there's the internal of that is literally, but all we are doing is calling the internal command, print preview. So I think from one version, I think it came about in the last, not sure, 2 or 3 versions. Okay, I think we're more or less there. John, you said you had a quick question. John still there?
Yep, I'm still here.
Yeah. You have a quick question?
I'm not sure it's a quick question. It's kind of it's.
Well, let's throw it out there and let's see if we can. And if it's quick, great. And if it's not, you'll at least give us food for thought.
Oh, I don't know. It's in my scripted program. I do a tree in the report control, and when I click on the plus, I usually get an event, but I'm not getting events. But I am getting events in the sample program, like in the demo program.
Okay.
So I don't know what it is in mine, but it's
not anything like one's using Reg3Con, one isn't, and the last version registered. It's not something like that.
No, they're both using Reg3, I think. Your demo does, I believe, and mine is.
No, the demo by default doesn't. Because I don't know whether, because it has to be, it's sent out in C6 compatible, so, and of course that wouldn't have Reg3, so we don't have it turned on by default. It uses the registered version.
Well, something that it used to work, and then I hadn't used it for a while, then I recompiled it, and then it stopped working. So there's something happened.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's have a
between a long time ago and when I did it.
Let's put our ultimate debug on here. Make sure we are getting some. So we'll put the debug on. Yep, that's okay. Do we want? God, that could absolutely hammer it. Let's have a look at what embed points we have first. So, what is it you're listening for? Is there a particular embed point you put in your code?
Yeah, let me pull it up here.
Just doing that. Alejandro, Steve just said to Alejandro, send a recording as well, so you can show the older version, i.e. I've just done the 16.4, and show a newer version, just record it and send that to them. I would do the demo app, two little small demo apps, and send them both, because they can then hook up a debug version, if you will, of the two controls, and they can then debug their own code that way. So I would send the recording, like Steve said, but I would also send the two example apps.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm looking for row expanded.
Row. Oh, the event.
Yeah, event func.
Sorry, got you.
UNC, yeah.
Yep. So you're going to on the report control, you're listening for, and it's case sensitive. So I take it it's capital R, capital E.
Yeah. Capital R, capital E.
So listening for an event. So for those who didn't know about this is all the products have this where you can listen for certain internal OCX events. We're looking for one, listening for one called row expanded. If that triggers,
I've got that there.
Yeah, and you would now in here you wouldn't have it in event func. That event func is the true internal of the all the callbacks. You would have it in event to tell you what name has come across. So we're going to normally you do a case statement in case you're listening for more. So I would have something along the lines of case param of that db. Oh, I've not added ultimate debug. I'll tell you what, we'll just put a message on there. Sorry. Row expanded. Get selected row. There you go. Okay, so a quick listen for that. I mean, you could do it in the event func, but you'd have to then do the get OCX last event name, something like that. Or
yeah, that's where I've been doing it. That's row expanded, yeah.
Oh, which one was it on? It was on standard tree. So we should have one in here, tree. So,
right.
And there we are, row expanded. 10, which it is. So that one is 13. If I click that, 13, so you should be getting it.
Yep, that's how it works on mine. I mean, your demo works.
So why wouldn't you? You're not. You've got.
I don't know. That's why I'm afraid it's going to be one of those things you don't want to do in a webinar. It's going to be like, oh, it's going to take some. People will be like, what the heck?
You haven't got you're turning off the processing of callback events. You're not left
don't know
that
why I
to
would do that.
There's
a command bar on it. You could throw a command bar on there if you want it.
Yeah, let's throw one on.
Yeah,
No, it
accept
shouldn't. The two are completely separate, but let's command bar. Let's put that in.
I think that's the only two things on the window is the command bar and the report control.
User color. What should we have?
And then they're inside of a docking pane.
God, this is really going to go.
I know.
Have a command bar. Docked command bar going across the top. So kind of irrelevant where we draw that, so that'll do. Oh, we better at least put some content on there. Really do need to change these defaults every single time I change them. And we'll clone the contract just to show we've got some stuff on there. So onto the actions, we will have our, not that it really matters, but we will clone our contract button, role contract, and we will clone the role expand. Oh, yeah. That should give us some content. And of course, that we still got our message in there. Do you want me to add a method in there of row expanded, row contracted? I can do that until you're not listening for messages. Yeah, I can do that and chuck you a beta across. That's no problem.
That would be good.
So okay, so our buttons have disappeared because now they are up here. So if we choose that and expand it, and it's still listening. Thank you very much. Wow, triggered a few times. Contract. Yeah, you see, you wouldn't want just the row expanded. We want to know the expanded state, true or false. So really, I could do you two methods there: row expanded, row contracted. Yeah, that would.
When you click on the plus, and the plus, if you drop the tree down there, like just click on the plus button there. Yep, everything's working like it should for you.
Here's my voice. New methods. New method. Row expanded / contracted. I take it we've not already got those.
I don't think so.
No, we've got to get row expanded. We've got to set row expanded. What you don't have is a row expanded. So it's going to be along the lines of row expanded row contracted. Like we're opening a kind of whoop ass here. But that's okay. We can NYS report control. Make sure we are doing this to Clarion 10. Yeah, I'm still working Clarion 10 for my the latest one, even though I'm in 11 for some projects now. Okay, row accepted. we just want a couple of basically placeholders. Just something along the lines of so.
Yeah.
Okay. So that'll give us the placeholders. And it's just one. Okay, that'll give us our derived embed points. So all we've got to do is just call it, really. Okie dokie, so you've got a row expanded. What do we want from it? Have a look at what parameters it passes us.
Probably the row ID, huh? Maybe.
Well, it'll be the raw object. Just it'd be nice if it passes as the indicator as well, but I doubt it. Yeah, it's just literally the raw row. Okie dokie. That's now put that out of the way. That's fine. Row object equals that. We won't get an item. Find the row. I'm just after that property of it. Just being lazy. Okay. Try that, shall we? second. Oh, contracted. Okay. So on here, we'll turn off the listening. Oh. Went it on the tree we was listening there before? Oh, it's on command bars. Let's stop listening for that. Quickly have to close it to template to take effect. Go back to our tree. We should have 2 new embed points. Okay, let's have a quick look. Yeah, role contract. There's our thing, there you go. That should be role contracted. And if this isn't working, then you know, on yours, John, if it's not working, then you know it's definitely to do the callback events.
Okay.
Role contracted, report control role contracted. So we'll put a message in here to go. You have contracted. That sounds a bit dodgy, doesn't it? Param. No, sorry, not that one. There, that one. Role contracted. Param row ID. And one for there. You have expanded. So onto our tree. Not getting it.
Oh.
That's going to be more what it's detecting. Oh, roll right click. The hell? What code was there before I think I overwrote the wrong embed point? Yeah, I did. Bit trigger happy on some of that, weren't I? There. Put the code under the right. That's what you get for rushing. That's that, and that wants to be, and it doesn't want to be that. It just wants to be. Yeah, possibly that's okay. Yeah, and the. Just before I forget, so I don't forget to update the history accordingly. only ever 15 on each thing. So, okie dokie. Let's just take a quick look at that. You're done number 3. I concur. I have contracted number 3. What was that one? That's 10. That's 3. Expanded 3. Expanded 10. Don't know what that one is. 3, 4, 5, 6, something like 7. 6. Yep, okay. 3. Yeah, that should be alright for you, John.
Cool. I'll give it a go because
Okie
something's
dokie.
not working now. At least I'll be up to everything
At
current
least,
with you.
yeah, from that you'll know. I mean, you should be able to. Oh, you will need to put the TPWs in because it's a derived class, so it's got extra content in there. So, okay. Questions. We are. Steve said you make it look easy, and he said, but I thought you put your code in the wrong place. No, you're correct. That's me being a smart aleck. It's just copy and paste. I'm the copy and paste king, but sometimes to my detriment. So, but yes, so I'll consider that up. You want to give that a try out? Should come up for, what are we on? G, whatever it was, 408. Oh, that's a Clarion. Funny. You close it, you reopen it, and it'll take effect. The code, generated code, will take effect immediately, but the description only takes effect the second time you open it. G. Crazy, isn't it? But
Okay.
you get these you get these funnies. Yeah, that I'll send you a zip over.
Thank you.
Okie dokie. Right. Well, we at least from that you'll know it's definitely catching it. It's definitely, you know, it's down to have you. There is this master global property I've mentioned to a few people of late. Use it at your peril, definitely. But you might have just turned it on, John, just by accident. So just check NYS common. Not that one. Oh, they can definitely wait. It would be process. There we no. That one. Process callback events. Just check you've not turned that off. You could turn it off. Basically, what that does is it stops the event func from taking note of anything.
Oh, I do see some events. I saw focus changing B, selection changing, mouse down.
Ah, right. Then it is processing because that code would be it would be wrapped in. Where are we?
Yeah. Then after mouse down, then it stops doing anything. But yeah, let me get the most recent here and see if that takes care of it.
Process call. See, we control it under condition, but it really is under very specific condition. Yeah, you can see straight inside of the main callback procedure. It works out the class and so on, but then it checks. So if you're getting any kind of mouse down, so on and so forth, then that is turned on.
Yeah.
Try the new one and let me know.
Will do.
Okie dokie. And with that, we shall. Oh no. Oh, hang on. Bijan has just. Bijan's there. And let me have a quick look. Although Bijan, we are 2 hours in. I do need to go shortly, very, very shortly. But hi, Bijan, are you there?
Oh yeah, hi Andy, how are you?
You've just
Sorry,
gone. Should have really finished.
Yeah, no problem. I just I sent you a Skype chat message about a couple of days ago about this error that I was getting. It's a TLS error, certificate error. I thought it's only happening on the production version. Have you had any issue with that? Have you gotten any reports on that?
No.
Okay.
No, I did notice. I know your you're using our classes for doing the processing, but using NetTalk to the connection, you really, because the message what's coming back and the TLS connection is really done via NetTalk, Bruce would be your best port of call on that.
Okay.
Obviously, if you're going via the Chillcat connection, then I can, I'll have a much better chance of diagnosing what's going on. But I know you're through terminal services, you're using the NetTalk to do the connection and then using our classes to do the parsing,
Okay.
which is fine.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no problem with that. But I'm going to be at a bit of a loss because it could be. It really could be any one of a number of things of how you've done the initialization and so on. But if you want to, I mean, I'm happy to get together with you and Bruce and help diagnose and so on. Absolutely no problem. Maybe the Wednesday webinar, which I keep meaning to attend. I always, I need to put it in the calendar like a Monday one.
Okay.
But maybe then I'll attend. Throw it up with one of the. I'll be there. Bruce will be there. So it'd be probably the best time to diagnose if you want the truth.
No problem. No, it was just that it was working, and then all of a sudden I get this error. Maybe something maybe in the NetTalk version of the TLS that's causing. I don't know what it is. Maybe the TLS version.
Have you,
But anyway,
changed
I
anything
didn't
like
want
that?
I didn't want to take up too much of your time. I mean, I know we're done with this.
Oh no,
system.
I'm not thinking. I'm happy to help, of course. It's just with it being the connection part and you're establishing the connection yourself. I'm going to really struggle to diagnose until I really know what you've done. To be honest.
I hear you. No problem. So yeah, we'll probably catch up. Maybe on Wednesday or next week. It's not a big deal.
Wednesday's a good one, I'll be honest. But yeah, because you're going to get both of us there at the same time, and I can explain to Bruce that the flow of things at my side,
Good.
and you can. So that's probably the best spot, to be honest.
No problem. Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for attending. Hopefully, you all got something out of it. I know John just did. Yes, basically, see you next week. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
How do we end? Come on, where have you gone?